Hey guys, welcome back. The Halo Infinite Winter Update, aka the biggest Halo Infinite update of all time, aka the update that was supposed to save Halo Infinite, has arrived. But does it live up to any of those tall tasks? Does it save Halo Infinite? Is it really that great? Well, today I want to give you a sort of semi-review of this update based on what I've played so far and the features that have been added so far as a part of it. So let's waste no more time and jump right in. Starting off, we have two of the most core, kind of mundane and basic features that you wouldn't even normally think about in a Halo game finally being patched back in a year after launch: campaign co-op and mission replay. Now, something that you're probably going to notice with quite a few of the features that I talk about in this video is that they don't exactly get me super hyped because they're not brand new debut features that Halo's never seen before. They're things that were in the game day one in almost every other game prior. So that really applies to campaign co-op and mission replay as well. I'm not all that hyped about them. However, they're good for the most part. They work. Co-op, I did notice when I played it, it was a little bit jittery and laggy at times. My ping wasn't too bad in game. I was on like an 80 to 90-ish ping, but it felt like I was on like 200 at times with bad packet loss. Like there was a little bit of desync. I also had shots like take a while to register on banished enemies, which felt a little bit weird. Thankfully, there's no input delay like MCC co-op campaign, which is great, but it did just seem a bit laggier than it should have been on like 80-ish ping, because I'm normally on 80 ping when I play Halo Infinite. That's like an East Coast American server, which normally feels perfectly fine, but it didn't feel great in campaign. Something that I don't really get about campaign co-op in this game is the fact that the game forces you to play on the person in the lobby save that has the least progress. So to give you an example, when we played, there were 4 of us in the lobby. 3 of us were on our finish the fight save, which is the post-campaign free roam kind of thing. So you finish the game. But one person, their save was only up to Pelican Down. And so we were all forced to play Pelican Down, and I, as the host, couldn't select a mission later than Pelican Down. I don't really understand why the host can't just choose a level to play. It seems a bit convoluted. But as for the actual experience, I mean, it was fun. It's co-op Halo campaign, right? It's almost the way that Halo was intended to be played all those years back. So it's fun. It's just a bit rough around the edges still. And as for mission replay, well, I don't really know what to say about this, because it's the ability to select a level. I mean, it's nothing exactly groundbreaking. What I will say is that the UI for mission replay is actually quite well laid out and very smooth. Got a lot of good features there, like even if you load a save on Heroic and you select a level to replay in that save, you can still select a different difficulty, or you can select schools that you don't already have on, which is pretty good. And it's also really cool that you can replay side quests like high-value target boss fights and outpost assaults and stuff like that as if they were their own fully fledged missions, which is pretty cool. For some reason, you can't replay the tower at the moment. I'm assuming that's a bug. And it's also very clear that certain cutscenes were not meant to be replayed with certain weapons. Like, for example, I replayed Warship Gabrakan earlier this morning with my finish the fight save, and as you can see, it's very clear that a energy sword was not meant to be shown in this cutscene. It's a bit weird. It's almost as if this campaign was designed for its missions not to be replayed. I don't know, it just feels a bit weird in that sense. At the end of the day, people are going to attribute issues like this with the fact that the game is open world and wasn't designed for conventional features like replaying missions. But things like level select, campaign co-op, etc. are core Halo features. They should have been considered when the decision was made to go to open world for the campaign, and evidently they weren't considered. So I just hope that whatever comes next, whether it's campaign DLC or an entirely new game altogether, I just hope that the campaign is designed with these very, very important features in mind. And related to campaign co-op and mission replay, a load of new achievements have been added as well, which is really good. They give you a reason to go back and replay certain areas of the campaign in different ways, or do cool things with friends in co-op. Like, for example, there was one achievement that we got last night, which is like kill 5 people or kill 5 enemies with a grav hammer in the side of a vehicle or something. Like, just fun stuff like that to get you replaying the campaign in slightly different ways. Something else they added that I'm kind of surprised they didn't make a bit of a bigger deal about is the fact that they've added new rewards for multiplayer for customization from the campaign, from certain campaign completion things. So if you 100% the campaign now, you get the Requiem Revengeance stance, the Act of Genesis stance, and the Infinity Weapon Charm. It's not much, but it's kind of a semi-version of a legendary reward, I guess, considering that you've got 100% the campaign to get them. Although I still think that the reward for either beating Legendary or Lasso or 100% in the campaign or something like that should have been Chiefs Mark 6 Gen 3 in multiplayer. That should have absolutely been some kind of campaign reward, and it's not, but hey, at least that is something else. Real quick, before we hit the next point, I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments if you're enjoying the winter update. What are you playing in the winter update? What have you played in Forge so far? Or are you not enjoying it that much? Are you not getting back into Infinite? Or have you really gone back into Infinite? Let me know down below in the comments. Okay then, now let's talk about the main feature of this update, and the feature, or features, that are hands down the absolute best and have actually beaten my expectations, which is a very rare occurrence for this game. Forge, the content browser, and of course, custom games. Now, I gotta say, starting with custom games, I don't know if they actually fixed anything with custom games, because even before this patch, they were still insanely buggy, barely worked. Customs played really nice for me for the entire night, honestly. Like, I don't think I actually had a single bug or glitch with custom games, like settings not applying or maps not loading properly. The only bugs that we had were because maps weren't designed properly, or that we had too many players for a map, right? There were no actual issues with custom games, which is very good and very promising. The new content browser, or file browser, is absolutely fucking excellent. I am genuinely blown away by this thing. I mean, after the absolute nightmare that was Halo 5's file browser and MCC's file browser, the speed and ease at which you can download and play custom game types and maps with this thing is fucking insane, to put it lightly. I'm not kidding, this thing is even better, and by quite a long shot, than Reach's file browser. I'm not kidding. Granted, it might not be as pretty or designed as well, at least visually, but mechanically, goddamn, this thing gets the job done and then some. Honestly, whoever designed this at 343, whichever team or individuals designed this content browser at 343, major props. You have absolutely nailed it. I'm not kidding when I say it literally takes like 5 seconds to find a new map and play it in customs. It's like 7 button clicks. It's absolutely ludicrous. The only issue that I've got with this thing right now is that when you're scrolling through the pages and then select something to look at it, it resets whatever page you are on back to number 1, which is a little bit frustrating when you're browsing for something like quite a few pages deep. But that is so far the only issue that I've had with this content browser. And also, it's worth noting, there's a version of this content browser on Waypoint as well. And unlike a lot of the stuff on the new version of Waypoint, this thing actually works, and it works again really well. It's so easy to get stuff from Waypoint loaded into game. You just go to Waypoint, you find a file, you bookmark it, and just literally like that, it appears in your bookmarks in game, ready to be played in literally 1 click. This whole ecosystem of file sharing and file downloading is absolutely perfect. The way the content browser integrates into Forge, actually in-game as well, not just in the lobbies, is once again spectacular. Like, saving prefabs that people have made and loading them in a Forge game is astonishingly quick and easy. You literally just bookmark it in the UI, load into Forge, open up the prefabs menu, and then click A, and bam, you can load whatever the hell you want. Like, literally instantly. There's no lag when you load it in. It doesn't have to download it or load it or anything like that. It just loads immediately. You can also use the content browser to load into some unreleased modes as well, like Infection. Now, according to 343, these modes are prototypes of their full versions. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't have just got some form of Infection out already, but this is a prototype version of Infection. But what's kind of really annoying is they're patching out the ability to load into these modes. I don't understand why. You would have thought 343 would have learnt by now not to fix things like this that the community find that don't break or harm any aspect of the game. Like, it's not hurting any part of the game playing these modes early, right? Like, just let us play them until you release the actual version. I mean, hell, the game's been out for a year now and we still don't have Infection. Let us at least play this crumb of Infection, right? We're dying out here. On the topic of polish and the actual quality of stuff, Forge is a bit buggy. I mean, technically it's a beta, so it's always gonna be buggy, but I mean, I was getting desync in a private game, just on my own in Forge. You can also time out of a Forge game, FYI, so if you're making a map, make sure you save it if you're gonna go AFK, because some guy just said that he like lost all his progress in his map because he went AFK, which kind of sucks, so make sure you're saving your maps ASAP. I've noticed that sometimes magnets stop working, at least they did for me. I don't know if I did something wrong, but they just randomly stop working for certain items. And I've also had it a few times where I boot into a Forge game and either my controller just won't work at all, or sorry, it'll half work. I can look around, but I can't move, or I'll load into a Forge game, try and load something, and the entire game will just hard crash. So Forge is most definitely a beta. However, as you've already seen, and as we can now experience properly, that has not stopped people from making some absolute bangers in it. And when I say bangers, I mean bangers. Some of the stuff that I've played so far has been absolutely fucking sick. Like, for example, there's this BTB map going around right now called Argonaut that, I kid you not, is the best BTB map in Infinite right now, and I would say by quite a long shot. Not only is it absolutely beautiful visually and really puts on display the potential of Infinite Forge, but it also plays so well as well. Unlike all of the dev-made BTB maps in Infinite right now, Argonaut is not tight and restricted and Hyper 3 lean and very narrow. It's very open, very, very big. I mean, the scale of some of the areas on this map is just insane. It really reminds me of like a Combat Evolved PC map in particular, which, if you guys know, is like one of my favorite kinds of maps. I love CEs like BTB maps, especially the bigger ones like Infinity and Death Island and Japhyrophobia, and this really gives me those vibes. I love this map so far. The creator of this map, just no words, just stellar job. It also has static vehicle spawns as well, unlike the absolutely awful system that they've got in regular Infinite BTB right now, where vehicles barely ever spawn, and when they do, they have to come in a pelican and be dropped down like a neutral point in the map. Just playing regular old classic versions of BTB on a map like this in Infinite just reminded me how fun BTB can be, and how actually unfun Infinite BTB has become thanks to the vehicle spawning system. Like, for me at least, Infinite BTB, you don't really see vehicles all that much. It's just like infantry but on bigger maps with more players. Whereas Argonaut, this felt like legit CE BTB, like everyone was in vehicles. I spawned, I got in a Wraith, I fought the enemy's Wraith, I was in Banshee dogfights, I was in like Warthogs. There's just so much potential with stuff like this, and this kind of vehicle spawning system, not to go on a massive tangent, but it proves that the classic vehicle spawning system is, pardon the pun, infinitely better than Infinite's version of it. But yeah, going back to the maps that we made off that tangent, there's a really cool remake of Haven that looks really good and plays really well. Eternity, the one inspired by, I forgot the name of the area in Elden Ring, by Payman, is not only gorgeous, but plays really, really well as well. It's a very unique level design. There's loads of like fun mini games, like someone's got Jenga working, there's Repulsor Soccer, and plenty more. Like, man, Forge has just proven to me that like custom-made, community-made assets are going to be the lifeblood of this game moving forward, far more so than really anything dev-made. Like, the stuff people have already made in this, and it's like, right now, it's day 2 of the update, is insane. Give it a month, 3 months, a year, I can't even begin to imagine what we're going to be seeing. Forge and custom games and the content browser in Infinite are absolutely fucking incredible. Alright then, friendos, it's sponsor time, thanks to good old-fashioned Audible. I mean, you guys know the deal by this point. Audible is the best way to absorb Halo lore thanks to its vast archives of Halo audiobooks. Contact Harvest, Divine Wind, the entire Foreigner trilogy, Point of Light, Shadows of Reach, The Flirt, the collection of short stories in Halo Fractures, and much more. All listenable whenever and wherever you want, whilst working out, whilst going to school or to work, or, like me, whilst gaming. Audible is the best way on planet Earth to soak up Halo lore knowledge, and new members can try Audible free for 30 days. Just head on over to audible.com/HiddenXperia or text code HiddenXperia to 500 That's audible.com/HiddenXperia or text HiddenXperia to 500 to try Audible free for 30 days and soak up as much Halo lore knowledge as you humanly can. That's audible.com/HiddenXperia. Thank you once again to Audible for sponsoring the video, and let's get right back to it. Now, although I just said that Infinite's Forge is absolutely spectacular, and it has a limitless potential, and I showed off all these cool looking maps that you can make in it that look visually gorgeous, the two new Forge maps that they've added to matchmaking, Argyle and Detachment, do a bad job at showing off the potential of Infinite's Forge. I don't think they're bad, but like, from a gameplay perspective, they're both okay. And visually, the natural world stuff is pretty good, but like, the actual like facilities and buildings and structures just look basic. They do not look like they were made in Infinite's Forge. They look like they were made in like Halo 5's Forge at a push. Like, I don't know why they chose to put these maps in matchmaking when there were clearly much better looking ones that could have been added instead. And I don't know if this is just specific to Argyle or if Infinite's desync problem is just exacerbated on Forge maps, but 343 have already had to remove Argyle from matchmaking because it keeps crashing, and I've also seen quite a few reports of the map having quite bad desync, like as you can see here. This does not exactly look good. So yeah, these two new maps, and I say new maps kind of strenuously because they're Forge maps, yeah, they're okay at best. The new mode, again, new mode, I say that a bit strenuously, that they added, called Covert 1 Flag, is okay. It's not as bad as it sounded to me. It's a bit more fun than I thought it was going to be, but at the same time, I mean, it's not something that I'd sit there playing on repeat all day, to be honest with you. It's not, I don't think it's that great. At the end of the day, this is just a game mode. If you don't know what it is, one team spawn with a sword, commando, and infinite threat sensors, and then the other team spawn with camo, pulse carbine, and sidekick. And it's like a one-sided, like, spies versus mercs style CTF mode. It's literally just something that you could have made in, like, Reach custom games 12 years ago. It's not anything that's actually new. It's not an actual new mode. It's alright, I guess. It's okay. And speaking of something that's alright and okay, the Match XP beta. I mean, it works. You now get XP for finishing a match. No, it's not a progression system. It's not military ranks. It's not even a number system. It's just getting XP for finishing a match with a little bit more if you do well. You know, that thing that Halo's had in every game day one since 2007. That's what this is. I mean, yeah, it works. It's infinitely better than the awful previous challenge system that was forcing everyone to play in very specific ways, to split off from their party of friends they were playing with, to go and actually progress in any form. You know, the system that was designed so badly but also had a new microtransaction that allowed you to skip those bad challenges, very conveniently added. That one, yeah. It's better than that. And on the topic of challenges, the changes that they've made to the challenge system with this update are actually fantastic. Challenges are finally in a good spot. They're exactly where I want them to be. So no longer are any of the challenges like playlist specific or weapon specific. They're a lot more generic now, which means that you don't have to play in a very specific way to get them done. They are at the point now where they're just exactly the same as Reach's challenges, which is exactly what they should have been on day one. I was going to say I don't know why they were like that, but like I just said, they were like that because challenge slots were created. That's why they were like that. But it's good to see that now they're a lot more generic and they apply to any matchmaking game. No longer do you have to throw a game just to experience what little form of progression this game actually has. These new challenges are so much better. Okay, another major part of this update is of course the free 30-tier Battle Pass that's essentially meant to be a make good for the launch of the game not being great and to add in some more of the Reach armors that they were originally going to add to the store, but now, because of obviously the backlash to adding armors that were free in multiple games before to a store, they've put them in this free Battle Pass. And although that's good, I'm not gonna lie, overall this Battle Pass isn't good, and I'm gonna show you why. Right then, so here you can see the free 30-tier Battle Pass, and yeah, I'm gonna show you why it's not exactly 30 tiers and why it's pretty lame overall. So first off, you can see there's a lot of duplicate emblems and there's a lot of XP boosts, which are both just complete filler. So let's cut those out. You can see immediately we cut quite a lot out. Then we've got the duplicates. So they decided to split shoulders into two different tiers, which just feels like a very artificial way to pad out the Battle Pass. So let's merge the duplicates together. There you go. Then we've got some additions that are just like kind of redundant. For example, the 2 new visors look almost identical to a number of pre-existing visors and also look very similar to each other as well. So we're gonna scratch those out, and also a color, colors. I'm treating this battle pass, by the way, as it were any form of progression system, and a color, I'm sorry, no, a color, even like a simple color like this is not, it's not a reward. So all the redundant ones, get rid of those. And then you can see that we're left with not much. And then as well, the Mark 5B core that you got if you bought the Heroes of Reach pass last year is given to everyone for free in this. So if you didn't buy Heroes of Reach, that is technically an unlock. But if, like many people and myself, you did, then the Mark 5B core doesn't really count, right? But let's look at the final count with all that stuff crossed out. 14 tiers of actual value when you cut out all the repeat stuff, you cut out all the filler, all the redundant things like visors that already exist. 14 tiers in a 30-tier battle pass. Is it free? Yes. Does that mean that it's beyond criticism? No, it doesn't. And this battle pass isn't great. So yeah, realistically, because of all the filler, this 30-tier battle pass is more so a 15 to 14-tier battle pass. And I know what some people are going to say, that like all other battle passes in gaming do exactly this, and yeah, they do, but is that a good thing? No. Why shouldn't Halo try and do it differently? I mean, hell, they already did with battle passes. Before Infinite, every battle pass out there just vanished at the end of a season, and then 343 came along and they were like, nah, that's not very good, let's change that. And they did, and it was a great change. So why not get rid of filler and make Infinite's battle passes actually worth more than they are right now? I don't know, just because other things in the gaming industry do things a certain way doesn't mean that Halo has to, especially when it's not exactly a good thing, like filling out a battle pass with meaningless content like repeated emblems and XP boosts that no one ever really uses. And what's even more annoying is that this filler is completely unnecessary when there are still reach armors missing from the game. Like, for example, there's no security, no military police, no pilot, no haunted helmet, no EOD, no gun year. All of those are still missing from the game, and the battle passes for the events Winter Contingency 2 and Joint Fire, which have leaked, don't have any of these other armors in. They have JFO in one of them, but like I said, no security, no military police, no pilot or haunted or EOD or gun year. They're nowhere to be seen, and as far as I can remember, 343 said they won't be putting any more Reach stuff in the store, so like, where are they? It's also kind of annoying that those armors are completely missing, and despite that, 343 are out here making completely new armors for the Mark 5B core that realistically don't look like anything else on that core and don't look like something that you'd see in Reach, just to sell in the shop. But then I guess this is a free-to-play live service game, isn't it? So the shop is the most important feature and comes before every other facet of the game. At least that's what it feels like, and that's what it's continuing to feel like. Oh, and another thing as well, we've had no update on cross-core customization whatsoever. Since they did cross-core visors and a few cross-core helmet attachments, that was like the last we heard about cross-core, and that was like months ago now. I think that was like, was that August, I think? Maybe a bit earlier than that. We've not heard anything since then, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't even do it all in the end. Like, do you really think they're going to do cross-core coatings when they've sold the color blue like 4 times already on different cores? Do you really think they're suddenly going to enable cross-core coatings so people can see how many times they've been sold the exact same color? Like, I don't know, I just don't see it happening. Speaking of that, God, the coating system is still awful, man. Like, I still can't have like a white Mark 5B Spartan. There's just so many things like that. All the stuff they said years ago about like how the coating system allows for so many more options and new color systems. Like, we can't even get basic color combos in the game a year after launch. Bit of a tangent there. But yeah, this whole thing with the Battle Pass and stuff like this has just got me missing Reach's progression and unlock system with the armory and all that stuff, man. I just miss it so much. It's insane to me how I just feel like gaming features past like maybe like 2010, it feels like gaming and its feature set kind of peaked in 2010, and ever since then it's just been a slow degradation in like quantity and quality. Like, I don't understand how major features just seem to be getting worse and worse and worse with every new release. It's confusing. That's not just a Halo thing, that's like a gaming wide thing. I don't get it. Maybe I'm a boomer. I'm 26 now, so maybe I'm just a fucking turbo boomer. Who knows, man? Who knows? And lastly, I'm not going to talk about this much, but I did want to briefly mention it. There have been some balancing changes. So the plasma pistol has been made a bit more efficient, as has the pulse carbine and the commando. And the first two, I think, seem pretty good. But the one thing I don't understand is why they buffed the commando. The commando felt really good for me before and like very much powerful enough. I don't think it needed a buff. And I'm already seeing pros saying that it's way too overpowered now, which, to be honest with you, doesn't surprise me because I like the commando quite a lot, and I already thought it was pretty powerful, so not quite sure why they buffed it. But another thing as well, the BR, they've slightly nerfed the BR, not broken it or destroyed it or ruined it, they've just made it a bit more skillful and a bit less of a laser at long ranges, and from what I've used it so far, it does feel a little bit better. So, let's talk overall thoughts before we round the video out. What are my overall thoughts on the winter update for Halo Infinite? Well, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. It's overall definitely a net good update, that goes without saying. It's definitely a step towards getting Infinite to the kind of level of quality and content that it should have had on day one, which realistically is still going to be a while before we hit it, but it's definitely a good step towards hitting that point. Does the overall update excite me and get me hyped and get me wanting to play Infinite again? Forge stuff, yes. I'm going to be making a few Forge showcase videos on cool stuff that I see, like maps and experiences that people make in Forge. So Forge and customs and stuff like that, yes, it does. But the rest of the content of the update? Nah, not really. I mean, nothing really gets me super hyped about co-op getting patched back in, or mission replay getting patched back in, or a battle pass that's like 50% filler and that is still lacking reach armors that should have been there as a part of the Heroes of Reach battle pass, which the game launched with. I don't know. The way that I look at it is, you don't get like brownie points for adding wheels to a car when it's already grinded and sparked its way halfway down a highway, right? Like, is it good that like cart's been added? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it's good, but those things aren't gonna get me excited because they're not new features, right? Like, I will get excited about Infinite features when they are actually new and additive to the content that should have been there on day one. I'm looking forward to the Battle Royale next year. I'm looking forward to campaign DLC, which I'm still praying we actually get at some point. Fingers crossed, because I really want some. But things like campaign co-op, mission replay, they don't get me hyped and excited to wake up in the morning and play Infinite. Like, they just don't. I'm not going to lower my standards so I can feign satisfaction at a game that is realistically still pretty unsatisfactory, but it is getting there. It's on the road to recovery now. Fingers crossed, I hope. If we hit seasonality next year, then hopefully that road to recovery is accelerated quite a lot and happens a lot faster than it has done this year. But that said, this is definitely a step in the right direction. And so, with that said, those are my thoughts on the Halo Infinite Winter Update. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below if you're excited to play Infinite again, if you're playing all the time, what your favourite feature is, what you're playing in Forge, or well, if you're not particularly excited. Let me know down below in the comments. And with that said, I'm going to round this video out here. I want to give a massive thank you to all of my amazing patrons for the continued support over there, as per usual. Thank you all so much, and thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one.